Alright, so I don't know if you know, but there is a little fluff ball that only comes out at night, which is a flightless bird. And all those things are true, and that's also New Zealand's national icon. So that's the kiwi bird. It's a really cute animal that everybody wants to see when coming for a trip in New Zealand. So today in this video, we thought we'd go over some of the best places to go and see kiwi birds while traveling in New Zealand. They are fantastic birds and they're definitely worth checking out. Today we're going to go over some of the places that you can see them in captivity, in conservation centers for example, and some of the places where we may be able to see them in the wild. However, with all the wildlife activities, nothing is guaranteed because kiwi birds are notoriously elusive. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so while you guys continue with all your fun comments, let's start with our kiwi bird coverage today. And I thought it would be fun to start with some quick facts about the kiwi bird. So, did you know that the kiwi birds are the only bird which nostrils are at the end of their bills?
No, I didn't know that.
Did you know that female kiwi birds are significantly larger than male kiwi birds?
Oh, no.
Did you know that there is actually 5 different species of kiwi birds?
I did know that.
Oh, can you name them all?
The rowie, which is the one on the west coast. And then they have their Maori names and their English names. Yeah. I think I only know the rest in their English names.
There's also the brown kiwi bird.
There's the brown kiwi bird, the great spotted kiwi bird.
Great spotted.
There's...
That's 3, that more than half. I'll give it to you. Let's move on. Did you know that there is about 70,000 kiwi birds in New Zealand, which is quite a good number? And did you know that the kiwi bird first became the national symbol in the 19th century when they appeared on regimental badges of New Zealand soldiers?
Oh, yes, I did know that.
Here you go. All right, so that's 5 fun facts about kiwi birds. Let's move on. Beginning our list with Stewart Island. That's right, we start with the full island. Stewart Island is located at the bottom of the South Island of New Zealand, and pretty much the entirety of the Stewart Island area is the Rakura National Park, and it's a fantastic place to spot kiwi birds in the wild.
Yes, it is. So the species of kiwi bird found in Stewart Island, which is the southern brown kiwi, they're actually known for, although most kiwi birds only sort of are awake at night, the ones on Stewart Island are usually spotted all the way up until midday. So if you are hiking around the island, which is kind of the main thing to do on Stewart Island, there's many hiking trails there. Often people just spot them in the wild while they're hiking on one of the trails. It happened to us. Yes, it did. It happened to us. We've seen videos of people that we were literally on the island at the same time, and they actually got a really cool video of a kiwi bird crossing like the path right in front of them. And you can see on our YouTube channel also our kiwi spotting experience as well. So go check that out.
Alright, so the next place to see kiwi birds in the wild on our list is the Tronson Corrie Park. So the Tronson Corrie Park is located 38 kilometers, which is 24 miles north of the town of Dargaville, which is in the Northland, and it's actually in the Northland region of the Northland of New Zealand. So
this is another place where you can see kiwi birds in the wild, as Robin said, but this time you will want to go after dark, and you will want to go with the proper equipment, usually a torch with a red light filter, because white light actually disturbs nocturnal wildlife, and they're less likely to come towards you. They're going to run away. So as long as you've got a red light filter on your torch or phone or whatever you're using, then you're good to go to just try your luck at spotting some kiwi birds. But if you don't spot them, you're likely to hear them, and the male and the female sounds are very distinct, very weird sounding. So yeah, get online, listen to some different kiwi bird calls, and then you'll be able to sort of hear, like, you know, recognize them once you are in the wild.
Alright, so sticking with Northland, we're gonna go about 6 kilometers from Whangarei on the North Island, so still in the Northland region, and we're gonna go to Kiwi North.
Yes, so Kiwi North is one of the places where you can see kiwi birds in captivity. Usually they are held for breeding programs where they sort of, you know, once the kiwi birds have laid some eggs. The eggs are sort of kept until the kiwi bird has grown to about 1 kg, and then that's usually where they're big enough to fend for themselves in the wild. So Kiwi North is an example of a place where they have an artificial nocturnal kiwi house where it's sort of made into this sort of nighttime scene, but for people to come during the day and see kiwi birds without, obviously bright lights and all the usual stuff that would disturb kiwi birds. So if you are determined to see a kiwi bird and you really want to make sure that happens, and usually going to one of these places like Kiwi North is a good place to go.
Plus, in Kiwi North, they have tuatara, which are basically living dinosaurs. They're lizards with 3 eyes. I'll let you discover that on your own. All right, so let's stay in Whangarei. Let's stay in the same town in the Northland region. So it's literally next to Kiwi North, and it's called the Whangarei Bird Recovery Centre, and that's number 4 on our list.
So the Whangarei Bird Recovery Centre is basically a bird hospital. So when there's injured birds that have been found by the public, in the Northland region, they bring them to this recovery centre where it's basically they're nursed back to health and taken back into the wild once they're strong enough. So with that, they have some aviaries where there are birds on display, birds sort of doing their thing until they are released in the wild. And yeah, one of those birds often that you can see there are kiwi birds. There is one particular kiwi bird there that was trapped in a well, I was going to say a bear trap, but I don't think it was a bear trap. Some sort of trap that unfortunately cut off the kiwi bird's leg, so it was unfortunately unable to go back into the wild. But yeah, that one has become sort of an advocate bird out at the Whangarei Bird Recovery Centre.
Okay, so since we're milking the Northland region of the North Island, we're going to go to the Waipura Forest, which is again in the Northland region of the North Island.
Yes, this is another fantastic place to see kiwi birds in the wild.
Or at least to hear them.
Or at least to hear them. However, when you are driving on the main road through the Waipura Forest, which is located in the Hokianga region of the Northland, often people do report seeing kiwi birds crossing the road in the Waipura Forest. But there are nighttime tours that can take you through, and it's usually to focus on the huge kauri trees, which are very spiritual trees to the local Maori people.
The Waipura Forest is actually home to Tane Mahuta, which is the lord of the forest in the Maori mythology.
Yes, so when you're going on one of these nighttime tours, it may be a good opportunity to hear kiwi birds in the wild, and if you're really lucky, perhaps spot them.
Indeed. All right, so that's the first 5. Let's go back to the live chat and we'll continue with our list a little bit later. Let's do 5 more places where you can spot kiwi birds in New Zealand while traveling, while being a tourist. And one of the great places to see kiwi birds is actually at the National Kiwi Hatchery, which is located in the town of Rotorua on the North Island of New Zealand. Rotorua is a spot where everybody is going to go when traveling in the country. This is where all the geothermal activities are. This is where some of the best Maori culture activities are, but it's also one of the best places to see kiwi birds. But that's not in the wild, is it, Laura?
Yeah, so this is another one where kiwi birds are in captivity. However, this is, I would say personally, one of my more preferred places to go to see kiwi birds in captivity. This is a hatchery, so the guys there, they will receive the kiwi bird eggs and they incubate them. Then, as I was saying before, once the kiwi birds have hatched, they're large enough to fend for themselves in the wild. They are then sort of transported by kiwi rangers across New Zealand to various sort of conservation areas and open wilderness areas for the kiwi birds to then fend for themselves in the wild. So it's really like an interesting, like, educational place to learn about kiwi birds and some of the really amazing things about them, and just seeing how huge the eggs are in comparison to the birds themselves.
How does the egg come out? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
So there's some really interesting things to learn there. But of course, what will melt your heart is seeing some of those newborn kiwi bird chicks. They are the cutest things in the world, and it's just, they're so amazing to see. So we do have videos on the channel. It used to be called Rainbow Springs. Now it's known as the National Kiwi Hatchery.
All right, so next up on our list, we have the Hohope Scenic Reserve. The Hohope Scenic Reserve is located in Whakatane, which is in the North Island of New Zealand. So it's north of Rotorua.
Yeah, so this one is another place where you can see kiwi birds in the wild, but it's really close to town. It's one of the places where you can see kiwi birds in the wild so close to an urban area. There are the Whakatane Kiwi Trust often do the occasional night tour. And we have a video of that on the channel as well, of us doing this experience. And they'll take you into the deep dark forest at night. And not only to try your chances at seeing kiwi birds, but to also see all these other nocturnal creatures that otherwise you would probably not know anything about if you were to go through the forest during the daytime. So yeah, that's another really awesome spot to go. Again, in the dark, better to have red light filters for trying to spot the kiwi birds, but if you see a kiwi bird, then it's usually best to switch off that white light if you do have it, just so you don't scare them and blind them and make them run away.
And the Hohope Scenic Reserve is also a fantastic place to hear owls and owl song and noises and everything at night. It's really, really cool. All right, so next up on our list, we have Sanctuary Mountain, which is the name for Mount Maungatautari. It is located in Pukeatua, which is in the northern end of New Zealand yet again.
Yeah, the closest large town to Sanctuary Mountain would be Cambridge.
Yes.
So yeah, Mount Maungatautari is an example of a really awesome sort of huge sanctuary where they have this state-of-the-art predator-proof fence around the whole huge forested area where it stops pests and unusual threats to kiwi birds like stoats and what other things, rats, sort of those land mammals. Possums as well.
Which is a big one, yeah.
That's a big one. So it stops those sort of land mammals that would usually be a threat to kiwi birds, and it's basically like this huge sanctuary that's in the forest for kiwi birds. So you can go in there, you can do self-guided tours, or you can go on guided tours as well. Not only can you see kiwi birds there, again, you have to be quite lucky to see them because obviously they only come out at night. So going on a night guided tour might be the better option. But if you go during the day, you may be lucky, or you may see lots of other really rare birds as you're going around.
All right, so next up on our list, we are heading to the South Island of New Zealand for the first time on this list. That's pretty exciting. And we're heading to beautiful Franz Joseph Glacier, which is on the west coast of the South Island, with the West Coast Wildlife Centre, WCWC.
Yeah, so this works very similarly to the National Kiwi Hatchery. So again, this is where they hatch kiwi bird eggs, specifically the rowy one, which is only a kiwi bird subspecies which is only found on the west coast.
It's the rarest of all the 5 kiwi species of kiwi birds we mentioned before. So
yeah, so it is really rare. They incubate the eggs, they raise the chicks until they're large enough to then distribute amongst the west coast accordingly. Off you go, kiwi chicks. But yeah, it's another good place to see those cute little babies that are so cute.
All right, so we're back on the North Island of New Zealand with probably one of the most popular places to go see kiwi birds in New Zealand, and that's Zealandia, which is located in Wellington, which is at the bottom of the North Island of New Zealand, and it also happens to be New Zealand's capital city.
Yeah, so Zealandia is one of these other awesome, huge sanctuaries where they have that predator-proof fence around to stop, those invasive species from coming in, except for humans, but what you want to do for Zealandia, if you want to see kiwi birds, is to go on one of their guided nighttime tours, which they do have specific tours designed for kiwi spotting. So that is definitely your best bet to see kiwi birds without disturbing them, where you're with expert trained professionals who will know how to see kiwi birds without sort of disturbing their natural behaviors and stuff. So that's a really good option, especially since it's so close to the capital of, it is in the capital of New Zealand.
All right, so that's wrap up 10 of them. We have 10 more coming, but first up, let's go back to the live chat. So let's go over 5 more places to see kiwi birds in New Zealand while traveling around, and let's start with Kapiti Island. So it's also located in the Wellington region, more importantly nearby the town of Paraumu, And yeah, it's a fantastic place to see them in the wild, isn't it?
Yes, so what you'll want to do if you want to see kiwi birds on Kapiti Island is to take the overnight kiwi spotting tour that is available there with the Kapiti Island Nature Tours. They have accommodation on the island. It's kind of like glamping style accommodation. So you can go over there, stay overnight, and also a part of the experience is do a kiwi spotting tour. Again, because seeing kiwi birds in the wild is never a guaranteed experience. It's not going to be obviously guaranteed, but it's a cool experience. You're very likely to hear them at least in the wild, and it's just cool to spend a night on an island.
All right, so next up, still within the same kind of area in the Werarapa region, which is what the region that we call just up north of Wellington, we have the Pukaha National Wildlife Centre.
Yeah, so this is another place where you can see kiwi birds in captivity. They have various conservation programs over there. So yeah, but they also have bushwalks, so you can see some of the sort of the wild birds that are attracted to the native bush of that area. And they also do night tours of the area, so you can not only have a chance at spotting kiwi birds, but also see other things like weta, which is some of the heaviest insects in the world. Not the biggest insects, but some of the heaviest insects in the world.
It's not big, but it's damn
heavy.
fat.
Yeah. Tuna, which is the Maori word for eel, and glowworms as well. So there's a couple of nighttime experiences you could be having there.
All right, so the second South Island place only that we've mentioned so far is called Kiwi Park, and it's located in Queenstown on the South Island of New Zealand.
Yeah, so Kiwi Park, which is formerly the Kiwi Birdlife Park, it's located at the bottom of the gondola. And it's another place where they actually have quite a few native birds there in aviaries. And also it's more of an educational place where they teach you about the conservation work that is being done in New Zealand in general. So if you're sort of all new to this, like, why are we saving birds already? Then that's a good place to just go and learn about it. They do have a nocturnal kiwi house there as well. So it's an option to see kiwi birds during the daytime.
And it's another place where you'll be able to see the tuatara, that crazy lizard that I was talking about earlier on in the video. Okay, so we're going back to the North Island. It looks like it's very North Island heavy, this list. I like
That's
it.
where all the kiwi birds
Yes.
seem to be placed.
But we're going to head to a different island this time, and we're going to head to Rotorua Island, which is in the beautiful Hauraki Gulf, which is the big gulf on the just on the side of Auckland, so basically in Auckland City. So tell us more about Rotorua Island.
So this is a place where it's basically the whole island is the kiwi bird sanctuary here, because the water is creating that barrier to stop invasive species from coming onto the island and threatening their habitat. So Rotorua Island has become a kiwi sanctuary because a lot of sort of when we talked about some of those kiwi birds that are raised in hatcheries and then released into the wild, very often they are released into places like Rotorua Island, where then they can sort of grow to be fighting fit without too many threats against them. So yeah, you can go
UFC training camp for kiwi birds. It's Fight Island.
So yeah, when you go over, basically what they do over there, they invite the public quite often to see kiwi
Matches?
to see kiwi bird releases. But obviously not everyone can time their trip with that, but otherwise they do have accommodation to stay on the island overnight, and that would be a good way to try your chances at seeing them in the wild during the nighttime, or again at least to hear them.
All right. Next up on the list, we have the National Kiwi Centre. So it's located in Hokitika on the west coast of the South Island of New Zealand. Woohoo!
Yeah.
What can you see at the National Kiwi Centre, Laura?
Well, here you can again see kiwi birds in nocturnal kiwi houses. They usually only have just one breeding pair at a time. It's one of those places where the animals that they keep there, it's usually rotating quite a lot. They don't overpack the place. Like, it doesn't feel like an exploitive place, and that's what we try to do with all the ones that we list on this on this guide right here, because there are other places you can see kiwi birds in New Zealand that we don't like to recommend, but yeah, these ones are the less exploitive ones, and here you can see usually just one pair in a nocturnal kiwi house, but usually they also have eels, freshwater eels that you can see, which are native to New Zealand. They also have the odd tuatara, and also a West Coast classic, which is whitebait, and it's probably the safest place for them to be because a lot of New Zealanders like to, net them all up and eat them, so they're probably the safest whitebait in the country, I'd say.
There you go. And just like that, that wraps up another 5. So, here are 5 more and the 5 last for this video, places to see kiwi birds in New Zealand. And let's begin with Kerikeri on the north island of New Zealand, all the way in Northland. And there is a place called Aroa Island.
Yes, so this place is where kiwi birds are put in like a large protective sanctuary. So they are sort of free to roam here, which is really cool. I mean, if you go in the daytime, your chances of seeing a kiwi bird are pretty slim, but they do nighttime guided walks there, so that would be your best bet for seeing kiwi birds in the wild when you're in Aroa Island.
And as one of the 144 islands that comprise the Bay of Island, Aroa Island also has some fantastic places to visit, such as a great mangrove and native bush. And it's not often that you can see well-preserved mangrove in New Zealand, so it's worth considering if you're into this kind of environmental tourism. Alright, so next up on our list, we are heading back to the South Island near Dunedin in the Otago region of the South Island of New Zealand with the Oroko Nui Eco Sanctuary.
So this is another large sanctuary area where there's, predator-proof fence in place as well. And here they actually have a huge range of species that you can see during the daytime, but also during one of the night walks. And not only do they have one particular subspecies of kiwi, but you can see various different ones, like the South Island brown kiwi, the Haast Toko Eka kiwi, and the South Island, that's actually 2. Just 2, not 3. I thought there was 3, but there's only 2. So yeah, there's, various different species to see during both the daytime and the nighttime, but obviously best to try to get yourself on a nighttime guided walk if you want to up your chances of seeing a kiwi bird.
Alright, so let's stick with the South Island of New Zealand, but head back to the West Coast. Head back to the West Coast.
Yes.
It is the West Coast. It's very rainy over there. And we're going to be talking about Okarito, famous for its Okarito Lagoon. And there is a bit of a tour over there called Okarito Kiwi Tours.
Yeah, so only available between October and March. This is one of the really rare tours in New Zealand where you are going into a completely wilderness area, but it is known for being a safe place for kiwi birds to live. So you go into this area and you are with a guide who uses basically trackers and stuff like that to find the kiwi birds and give you a chance of actually seeing them like as wild as it can get. Other than Stewart Island that we've talked about, where everyone and the kiwi birds are free to roam basically wherever they want. It's kind of the similar situation in Okarito. So, and again,
except that you get even more chances because he's tracking them, and
yes.
they basically even know their name because they always track like similar kind of kiwis that have burrows nearby.
Yeah, so he'll know the places to go to and that sort of thing. So it basically ups your chances really a lot if you're going with a guide rather than if you were just going by yourself and just hoping for the best. This one sort of increases your chances of seeing kiwi birds in the wild tremendously.
And you may even be able to spot the ruru, which is New Zealand's
Yes.
dwarf owl, which is really cool.
It's very cool.
Okay, so we're going back from the West Coast all the way to Northland. We do love going to Northland, don't we?
Yeah.
And we are going to Russell, which back in the days used to be New Zealand's capital, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was the first capital of New Zealand when the bloody colonialists came in and did all their colonial things.
She says with a perfect English accent.
But yeah, and colonialists like to establish capitals, and that was Russell back in the day. But yeah, the forested area around there has become a safe haven for kiwi birds, and you can go with a company called Russell Nature Walks, which will take you into kiwi habitat again to see kiwi birds in the wild at night. Try your chances. Again, it's with wild animals, so it's never a guarantee, but it's usually a pretty awesome experience getting to experience the New Zealand forest at night, and there's often many other things to see if you miss out on seeing a kiwi bird.
All right, and speaking of capitals, what about we're talking about the Kiwi-ana capital of New Zealand, Otorohanga, which is located in the North Island of New Zealand with the Otorohanga Kiwi House.
Yeah, so the final kiwi house, which is this artificial environment created for kiwi birds that we'll mention, is in Otorohanga. This is located basically for most people when they're driving on their way to Waitomo, if they're going to the Waitomo glowworm caves. You usually get to see breeding pairs there. Usually at certain times of the day they do feedings, so if you time your trip right, when they do the feedings is when the kiwi birds are most likely to come out and you get to see them up close. They also have large aviaries there, well, a sort of large walk-in aviary, so you can check out some of the native ducks of New Zealand as well as some of the native parrots.
All right, so that wraps up 20 places to see kiwi birds in New Zealand. We've got much more help on the website, so check out NZPocketGuide.com. We've got some links in the description below. And yeah, with that resource, you'll be able to make your trip to New Zealand ever so more exceptional. In the meantime, you have an awesome trip to New Zealand, and we'll go back to the live chat.